If you are a bariatric surgery patient who knows that protein is important, not really 100% sure why, we're struggling to hit targets and we need a few more options, you are in the right place. My name's Harry Hedges, the Bariatric PT, and if you give me 10 minutes of your time, I'm pretty certain this will be the last video you ever need to watch around protein, and indeed, most importantly, get you hitting those important targets. I'm actually being extremely ambitious today. I am recording this as a podcast at the same time, which means no edits, no mistakes allowed, and hopefully it comes across that I know what I'm talking about if that is the case. But it's early days, let's see how we go. So protein is a macronutrient. It's quite literally the recovery macronutrient. So you can, post-bariatric surgery, see why protein's important in those early stages. It aids our metabolism, it aids protecting muscle mass, but it has so many other health benefits that are underspoken about. And the key reason we ask you to hit certain targets so early, yes, it absolutely helps weight loss, and I will talk about that in a second, but actually it's mainly for your health in those early stages. Protein is responsible for many parts of our body's development. So, for example, cell regrowth, which is associated with lots of hair. It's quite common that patients can lose hair post-surgery if protein amounts are not hit. And I think with the worry around that can be, it's quite common that people will suddenly be very, very keen to hit protein when hair loss starts to occur. So what does that tell us? It tells us that maybe it's in the setup, maybe it's in the mindset towards protein. If people feel like it's this impossible task, which honestly it's not, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, then we want to set the mindset up correctly, because we know that patients take protein extremely seriously when hair loss starts to occur. The thing about hair loss is there tends to be a 2 to 3 month lag. So it's very rare patients will lose hair very, very early on. It tends to be sort of 2 to 3 months post-op. So it seems to be some evidence to suggest that 2 to 3 months is the time when that cell regrowth issue can take place. But we also know if people start hitting protein targets, it doesn't necessarily mean the hair is going to be sorted straight away. So we have to allow protein to be something in place for a couple of months or so. And that's why we want to look at it as a lifestyle-led choice, a habit choice, not something that we just do in a flash-of-the-pan moment. It is something that we need to do on a day-to-day basis because it is important for our health. And the hair cell side of things really brings that to life. But of course, things like our metabolism, it's going to aid long-term weight loss. Things like protected muscle mass. Patients are aware of things like loose skin, and that's something that can occur post-op, and optimal protein is really going to help with that. Enzyme function is a big one, but the ability for the body to break down food. Protein is very metabolic, and what that means is the body can tend to have that, utilize it as fuel a bit more efficiently compared to carbs and fats, and that's why we talk about having protein first in our diet, because not only is it easier to eat in those early stages, but you'll also find that it's obviously giving us lots of benefits away from that. I think you made a mistake there. I can't make a mistake. It's on the podcast as well. So hopefully that gives you an indication as to why protein is important on a health basis. I've touched on why it's important for weight loss in the sense that it's great for our metabolism, but also protein is very filling. So for long-term weight loss, the ability to complement the tool with a filling macronutrient, carbs and fats put together. Nothing wrong with carbs and fats, but when you think about certain food groups that have carbs and fats put together with very little protein, I think of chocolate, I think of sweets, I think of crisps. These are sort of junkier type foods. If you think about toast is a great example. So if you have a slice of toast and you put some butter on it, you've got that combination of carbs and fats, very tasty, very moreish. People talk about sugar quite a lot. It's actually that combination of carbs and fats. I don't see people walking around eating dry bread. I don't see people walking around eating just sugar by itself. But if you put it with fat together with no protein, very tasty, very moreish, not very filling. So if we complement most of our day with protein being the main sort of focus point, it doesn't need to be the most food we eat. So I've had patients say to me, I feel like I'm a slave to protein. It means we're doing something wrong there, because every gram of protein is only 4 calories. In those early stages when we're asking patients to hit around 60 grams, sure, we're going to be reliant on supplementation during the liquid and the puree phase. More on supplementation will come in this video. But every gram of protein is 4 calories. If you think we're asking people to hit 60 grams, that's only 240 calories. It's quite common that we would hope patients can hit 500, 600, 700 calories in those early stages. So we're talking about 33% of our day. We're still going to be mainly eating carbs and fats as part of that. And as time goes on, absolutely want to be moving more. We're able to eat more, which is a good thing. The goal of this whole bariatric surgery process is not to eat as little as possible for as long as possible. It is to fuel ourselves efficiently while we're moving more, while we're exploring those non-scale victories, and absolutely protein should go up into accordance. So the point where we are about 6 months post-op, 80 grams, even knocking on the door of 100 grams of protein per day. Remember, 100 grams of protein is only 400 calories per day. So if we're moving and we're getting active, and we're getting out, getting steps in, we're doing our exercise 2 to 3 times a week, alongside the weight loss is providing that for us, because if there is pain, I understand why exercise wouldn't be desirable. Certainly there can be a confidence side of things when we are of a higher BMI. But we should be looking to utilize that as time goes on, as that weight loss is occurring, which is going to allow more food in, which is a good thing, and we're going to have more protein as part of that. And suddenly we've got a bit of a program, a bit of a balanced diet in place here. But it lives in the protein, and the way to kind of hit your protein targets, because we're talking 60, 80, 100 grams, I understand why people might find that a struggle. The first thing to think of is the belief pattern. It's only 4 calories per gram, so 240 calories is not a lot of food. Even 400 calories is not a lot of food. Can we build that 60 to 100 grams of protein over the course of time? How do we go about doing this? This is, it's all well and good, hopefully me empowering you with the knowledge and the understanding that protein targets are very achievable, but how do we go about doing that? Well, no doubt that supplementation could be a feature. So supplements are not magical things. It seems to be in the world we live in these days that everyone is saying that these supplements do incredible things for us. They complement the diet. They supplement the diet. So of course, if we're short on protein, just like we're short on vitamin D in this country most of the time, it makes sense to supplement it accordingly. And protein is no different. Now, it can live in shakes. It can live on myprotein.com. If you want to get a discount on there, Harry CC discount code. So Harry, my name, and then CC afterwards will get you a small discount on there. Myprotein.com. These are companies that do this. The tonic weight loss protein is available on our website as well in a strawberry and cream flavour. Perfect macronutrients on that as well. But essentially, we're looking for a low carb, low fat, high-ish protein, so usually around sort of 20 to 25 grams of protein, so around sort of 80 to 100 calories or so. You'll always get some carbs and fats to get some flavour in there. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with carbs and fats. Again, I just want to say that, but for a protein supplement, we want to make it as protein dense as possible. So you're looking for around 120 calories for around 20 to 25 grams of protein. And that is going to complement our day. But again, remember I said it should supplement, it should complement the day, it shouldn't be the day. So I'd be looking to get maximum my day 50% supplementation, but with a view to always prioritize meals first. Protein doesn't really, other than maybe baby bells and things like that, it doesn't really live in snackier type foods. Okay, it tends to be your eggs, your fish, your meats, quinoa, lentils, beans, corn, Greek yogurt, which I suppose can go a bit snackier. I'll talk about that in a second. Cottage cheese is a really good hack as well. These food groups tend to be more meal focused. I don't see many people walk around eating cottage cheese. I don't see many people walk around just eating eggs. I suppose you get hard-boiled eggs, but you get my point, right? So we want to be concentrating on meals. The body has a thing called a circadian rhythm. It likes a predictability of food groups through meals. If we're snacking more, the body tends to command more snacks, So it's not saying snacks aren't allowed, but I would say let's try and aim for our day, 80% of our day to be meal focused with protein in all of them and protein first. And I think that's where people go wrong with protein. Breakfast can sometimes not be a very desirable protein based meal because there's people skip breakfast, or indeed they might have some cereal with a bit of milk because it's a small amount of protein. It's mainly a carb resource. So this is where things like, let's face it, eggs, Greek yogurt, or indeed supplementation are going to be the thing. Unless you're going to go really bougie and have like steak and salmon or something, which obviously is fine. But I would say it's probably going to come down to eggs, which if you've got time to cook it in the morning or not. Greek yogurt, which is a great go-to. And or maybe, again, I mentioned cottage cheese earlier on, or not, maybe on some toast perhaps. These are little hacks that are going to help you get your protein in the morning. But it might be a case of having some sort of meal and supplementation shake in the morning, or indeed just a supplementation shake if you are somebody who skips breakfast. But we don't really want to be going into sort of 1 o'clock in the afternoon with the ability to have maybe 2 to 3 meals tops. Bear in mind the portion control tool that we've got. We don't really want to be going into 1 o'clock on 0 grams of protein. We want to be really 20, 30, because then suddenly we've started the day well. And lots of people respond very well to starting the day well. So as a real basic premise, I would say let's make sure that we have a meal at some point early in the day that's going to encourage protein. If that's supplementation shake, fine. If that is a Greek yogurt with some fruit, fine. If it's eggs, we've got time to do that, great. But I would probably be looking at getting one of those 3 things in place in the morning as a routine going forward. Then from that point, suddenly lunch and dinner doesn't look so, it looks like we've got more availability to protein, because obviously that's where tend to be meats and fishes and lentils and beans and quinoa, and all these things can come into practice a little bit. So that's the first hack, making sure our first meal has protein in it. We're not skipping that process. We're not trying to back end the day and chase the day, because naturally that's going to be problematic. And what tends to happen, not always, is that people might skip another meal at some point of the day because it becomes desirable from the stress or being tired or being overworked, that suddenly having snacks can be a desirable thing. And as I said earlier on, that's going to be problematic towards your goals because they tend to not contain very much protein, and they tend to be very tasty and more rich. I will do another video about setting up our environment around the snackier type foods, but one of the key things ironically you can do is in this video is having protein first in your day. And the second tip I would give alongside having protein in the morning is, for a period of time, doesn't be every single day, but for a couple of weeks or so, I would track your protein target. So tonic patients, you can do it on the Tonic app, or indeed if it's on MyFitnessPal or a NutriCheck. Just get an understanding as to what you're having, because a lot of patients sometimes think they're doing okay and then actually look at it and they're not. I've helped many patients who say, oh yeah, 80 grams are given, and then they track it for a few days and we're getting 40s and 50s. And they're wondering why they're snacking more. Remember, protein is very filling, so it's going to aid us in making sure we're offsetting those snacks. Again, the body loves a circadian rhythm. If we're prioritizing meals with protein present in all of them, then you will go far for goals, not just your weight loss goals, but towards your health goals as well. Now, I understand that we're all human. We're not always going to be able to do that sometimes. But, you know, if you're thinking 3 to 4 meals per day, so that's 21 to 28 meals per week, look at that sort of 80-20 law. So if it's 21 meals we're having, give or take, can we aim for sort of 17, 18? If it's 28, can we aim for 20 plus? Have a flexibility of this stuff, I understand that, but don't fall into that trap of just not prioritizing it, skipping meals, having snacks, having slider foods. Sometimes that can be more desirable, which is, you know, we have to overcome that. There is a case of making sure that we are setting ourselves up right for the win. People talk about food noise quite a lot. 99 times out of 100, food noise exists when protein is not optimized and meals are not being prioritized. So I really hope that helps you with protein. In this video, I've explained why it's important, the mindset around it, how to hit it, and why maybe it's something that we need to take really seriously going into 2026 beyond just weight loss. It'll always help weight loss, but beyond just weight loss. And honestly, if you put 3 to 5 days consistently into practice, you'll start to notice the benefits. It's not something that happens after 1 day, 2 days, but for a few days of doing it, you'll start to notice benefits, and it will just become something that you do more apparently because of the fact it's very energizing, because of the fact you'll like what you see on the scales, because of the fact it's really ticking that box towards our health. And that combination going into a new year can be really powerful indeed. I hope you enjoyed that. Please hit subscribe below, the Bariatric PT. And indeed, if you need any support from me, or indeed, if you listen to the podcast, I should say, hit the subscribe button. And if you have any questions, reach out anytime to me. There's in the comment box. And yeah, I'll look forward to catching up with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.